Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really plunging into something important and changing fast: Japan's fashion recycling industry. With everyone talking about the environment and sustainability, this area isn't just growing, it's basically transforming. So, our mission here is to cut through the noise, find the key insights, and really focus on how old clothes in Japan are getting a fascinating second life. You might look at your wardrobe a bit differently after this.
Absolutely. What we're really seeing is a fundamental shift in fashion, moving away from that old linear take, make, dispose idea towards something much more circular. And while reusing clothes is, definitely part of it, our main focus today is going to be on the, let's say, more complex process of material recycling, fiber recycling specifically. This is where garments get broken right down to their raw materials to make something totally new. It's about closing that loop.
Okay, so let's unpack that. What is fashion recycling, fundamentally? It seems like there are two main parts, right? First, there's reuse. That's what most people think of, I guess. Selling secondhand clothes, vintage shops, giving stuff away, simple resale. But then there's the second piece, the more technical bit: recycling, or as you called it, rematerialization. Taking clothes apart, turning them back into raw materials for new things. And wow, that reuse market in Japan, it's absolutely booming. In 2023, it hit something like 1.15 trillion yen. That's what, the 13.9% jump from the year before? And they think it'll hit 1.28 trillion in 2024. It's huge. So what's behind that surge? Well, things opening up after the pandemic, obviously, but also these flea market apps everywhere. And the vintage boom, especially with younger people. It's like affordability meeting eco-consciousness.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is how the government is stepping in to shape this. While reuse is exploding, fiber recycling, the rematerialization part, is smaller now, but the potential, it's massive. Forecasts show steady growth, maybe 5% a year, right into the 2030s. And this isn't just about business. It's vital for Japan's waste reduction goals, its carbon neutral targets. Actually, MITI, the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, has set a really clear target. They want a system in place by 2030 that can produce 50,000 tons of recycled fiber every year. That's a serious number. It signals a big shift, treating waste like a resource. It could really change things.
50,000 tons. Okay, that's ambitious. So practically speaking, how do our old clothes even get into this system? Let's trace that journey. It starts with collection, right? Where we, the consumers, come in. And there are quite a few ways now, getting easier too. You've got the usual suspects, secondhand shops, those municipal collection boxes you see around, but also home delivery services, picking stuff up, and really importantly, direct collection in stores like Uniqlo and Muji. Yeah, they have those boxes right in the shop. Makes it super easy for anyone to drop up unwanted clothes. Retailers are becoming part of the cycle.
Right. And once they're collected, they go into sorting and reutilization or rematerialization. This is key. They get sorted. Clothes in good shape, wearable. They go for reuse, sold here, or maybe exported. But the damaged stuff, the worn out items, things that just can't be worn again, they're marked for material recycling. Now, here's a sobering thought. How much actually gets recycled now? The reality in Japan, let's start. In 2022, about 798,000 tons of new clothes came onto the market. Around 730,000 tons got discarded. And get this, 480,000 tons of that, that's 64%, just got incinerated, burned. Only like 3 or 4% actually made it back into the circular system, either reused or truly recycled. So the big question is, how do we boost that number? How do we turn that waste into something valuable?
Yeah, 3-4% is tiny. So those different paths, let's look at the reuse side first. The infrastructure seems pretty solid there. You have big secondhand chains, right? Book Off, Second Street, Trender Factory. They're everywhere. Lots of stores, lots of options for buying pre-owned fashion. But the real disruptor, especially for younger folks, seems to be those apps. Mercari, for example. They've made C2C, consumer-to-consumer sales incredibly easy. You can just sell your old stuff directly to someone else. It's totally changed the game for secondhand.
Definitely. Now, let's switch gears to the more technical side. Rematerialization or fiber recycling. Two main ways this happens. First, there's mechanical recycling. This is basically shredding clothes into fibers. It's okay for some things, like making industrial wipes or insulation, but it has limits. The fibers get shorter, weaker, so you can't easily make new, high-quality clothes from them. Plus, mixed fabrics are tricky, and things like zippers and buttons have to come off first. Adds cost, adds complexity. The real excitement, though, is around chemical recycling. This is the breakthrough stuff. It uses chemicals to break down fibers like polyester or nylon right back to their original molecules, their monomers. This process can remove dyes, impurities, basically purify the material. Then you repolymerize those monomers back into high-quality raw material. Often, it's just as good as virgin material made from oil. This is what makes true fiber-to-fiber recycling possible. Old shirt becomes new shirt material. A great example here is JEPLAN, Japan Environmental Planning. Their Bring project is all about this. They chemically recycle polyester from clothes they collect into new polyester resin.
It's happening now. And it's not just polyester. MEDI is also funding research into recycling cotton and other cellulosic fibers using solvents. That's the next frontier.
Okay, that's cool. Seeing the old stuff become genuinely new again. So the final step in this chain is the sales and utilization of recycled products. And companies are starting to use these materials more, right? Putting them in regular clothes. I remember Uniqlo's recycled down jackets back in 2020. That felt like a big step.
It was a very visible one.
And more recently, 2023, they used chemically recycled polyester from their own collected items in new fabrics. Even for things like the Paris Olympics official wear, I read.
That's right. You're seeing more labels now saying contains X% recycled material.
And people seem to want it more. Plus things like clothing rental services, shared closets. It feels like the attitude is shifting.
Slowly but surely. The whole fast fashion, disposable idea is starting to face real challenges from this circular thinking, driven by tech and by what consumers choose. Now, if you look at the industry itself, the competitive scene, it's kind of got two main arenas. You've got the reuse business, and then you have the fiber recycling tech sector. In reuse, we're seeing a lot of M&A activity, companies merging or buying others. It's partly a reaction to those CDC apps we mentioned, like Mercari. The traditional chains need scale. They need better online and offline integration, better inventory control to compete. So you see examples like Treasure Factory buying Pickup Japan, Hard Off buying Acoplus, or in luxury resale, Valueless Holdings acquiring Neo Standard. It's about consolidation for efficiency and market share.
Right, scaling up to compete. And then in the fiber recycling space, it feels more about innovation and partnerships. You mentioned JEPLAN earlier. They seem like a major player.
Oh, absolutely a leader.
Founded back in 2007, launched the Bring project, opened Japan's first polyester chemical recycling plant in Kitakyushu in 2017. That's pioneering stuff.
Definitely. And they haven't stood still.
Right. Like in 2018, the big textile trader Toyoshima invested in them, leading to collaborations. And they even bought a PIT bottle recycling company, expanding beyond just clothes.
Yes, broadening their scope in circular plastics. And by 2021, their Kawasaki plant was churning out chemically recycled peat resin at scale. They combined the tech, the investment, the partnerships, really driving things forward. And it's not just startups like JEPLAN. The established giants, the big textile makers and trading houses, are deeply involved now. Look at Taijin. They developed their EcoCircle chemical recycling tech for polyester quite early on. And just last year, 2023, they formed a major joint venture called Repeat. That's spelled R-E-P-E-A-T. It's a partnership with JGC Holdings, the big engineering firm, and Itochu, the trading company.
Okay, so what's Repeat's goal?
Their mission is basically to license Taijin's advanced recycling tech globally. Combine Taijin's technology with JGC's know-how in building plants and Itochu's global textile network and market access. They're essentially packaging top-tier Japanese recycling technology for the world market. It positions Japan as a leader.
That makes sense. Big players teaming up. What about others?
Well, Toray Corporation is another major one. They've worked with Uniqlo for ages on sustainable materials, building on that recycled down success. Toray has big plans for more fiber-to-fiber recycling, aiming for a fully integrated circular system, connecting material makers, retailers, collection, the whole loop.
And the trading companies like Itochu and Toyoshima, you mentioned their investments.
Yes, they're crucial. They invest in recycled material suppliers overseas, they fund startups, but they also manage the flow of goods. Itochu, for instance, is big in exporting used clothing. They partner with European wholesalers to move used clothes from Japan to markets where they're needed, making sure good stuff doesn't go to waste. Plus, they're looking ahead, investing in new sustainable materials like plant-based fibers, thinking about the whole life cycle.
It's fascinating how widespread this is becoming, even seeing traditional industries pivot. Like that example of Hokunichi Buseki, the spinning company in Hokuriku.
Right, a classic traditional industry.
In 2021, they bought Kanai Sanyo, an industrial waste treatment firm.
A strategic diversification, exactly.
To get into plastic pelletization, basically plastic recycling. It's a really interesting example of an older company finding a new path in the circular economy, maybe because their original market is shrinking.
Absolutely. So wrapping things up, you see these two key trends powering Japan's fashion recycling, the booming reuse side, and these big leaps in fiber recycling tech. And the government's playing a key role, nudging things along. MEDI's got these eco-design guidelines, encouraging companies to design clothes that are easier to recycle from the start. Think single materials,
easy disassembly. They're also pushing for more use of recycled fibers, developing national standards, JIS standards, and looking at international ones too. It's about staying competitive, especially as places like Europe get stricter, banning textile incineration and so on.
But it's not all smooth sailing, right? There are still hurdles.
Definitely challenges remain. Technically, dealing with those mixed fiber garments is still hard. All the zippers, buttons, that complicates things.
And the cost. Chemical recycling sounds amazing, but is it expensive? Energy intensive?
It can be, yes.
Yeah.
Compared to just making virgin materials from scratch, that's a barrier. Right now, you said over half of discarded clothes still get burned, often because the material mix or condition makes recycling too difficult or just not economical.
So we need more innovation. Better design like that monomaterialization you mentioned. Designing for recyclability.
Exactly. And continued R&D on new materials.
Mm-hmm.
Economically, recycled fibers need to get better quality and cheaper to really compete head-on with virgin ones across the board. But despite those hurdles, the outlook is, I think, pretty positive. Japan's got strong tech development skills. And you see real collaboration now, government and industry working together. If the investment keeps flowing and the market keeps developing, that 50,000-ton target by 2030, it feels achievable. The pieces are falling into place.
And of course, there's us, the consumers. Our behavior is crucial, isn't it?
Absolutely fundamental.
The whole system, reuse and recycling, depends on the choices you make every day. Using clothes longer, donating them properly, participating in those collection programs. And thankfully, it seems like attitudes are changing here in Japan, especially among younger people. Secondhand is cool, upcycling is cool, sustainable fashion is becoming more normal. So as the world keeps shifting towards the circular model, just imagine a future where fashion recycling isn't some niche thing, but it's actually the core of how the whole apparel industry works. What role will you play in making that future happen?